Period. On my black, brown, and indigenous. Gotta holla if you really feeling this. Gotta holla if you really real enough. Other rappers is delirious. Yeah, it's really that serious. Better holla if you really feeling me. I gotta keep it 100. Ayy, if you don't like it, then fuck it. Ayy, we gonna win in the end. Yeah, we gonna live in abundance. I gotta keep it 100. Ayy, if you don't like it, then fuck it. Ayy, we gonna win in the end. Yeah, we gonna. I gotta keep it 100. We gotta stop all the stunting. You know we coming from nothing. Yo, you talking about money, you bluffing. We gotta do something different. We gotta change how we live in. We gotta do better for women. We gotta do better for children. We gotta listen to victims, whether Jewish or Muslim or Christian. It doesn't matter your religion. You gotta stand against the system, or else you just another villain. How you just sitting there chilling?
Peace, everyone. Peace. Welcome to another episode of Jabari Vok Podcast. I am your host, Jamar Jabari. And in the midst of what happened this last week, at the end of the week with Tyre Nichols' video being released, we're going to talk about that. I'm putting together a panel. I know people ask me, it was like, oh, what's your expertise? If you haven't looked on Instagram or on Twitter or anything, and I know I have a very small following, so I get that, people. But if you haven't looked and you ask me, hey, what's my thoughts? I'm literally on Channel 12 News, Channel 8 News, Party for Socialism Liberation page, talking about Tyre Nichols. I'm all over the place there. I'm going to talk about him on the podcast as well too, but I want to have a professional panel to get to that subject. Without further ado, though, we have another great guest who's back. You remember her from season 2. She is a counselor, Arkeria Robertson. She is back, and I'm glad that she is here to give us more information on self-care and mental health. And I want people to literally take in this information and learn, because this is a great opportunity to hear more knowledge on how we can take care of ourselves and also deal with our mental health, which is so important, especially within our urban communities. I know here in New Haven, I work as a union worker at a hospital, and there's a lot of people in my position that looks like me, and we are always dealing with so much stress at the workplace. And it's so important to just be able to have some time to just relax and work on yourself. And so been giving you guys a lot of great heavy subjects. We're going to be a little more lighter today. We're not going to go into my favorite topics about U.S. imperialism. We're going to be a little bit more lighter today and talk about self-care and talk about mental health. So without further ado, Arkeria Robertson.
Hi.
How are you today?
I'm doing well, and you?
I'm doing very well, and I just learned that she's a new parent. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. 4 months in, lifetime commitment.
That is absolutely beautiful. And I saw that you expanded, right? So you're certified in 2 new states as well too. It was just
I'm licensed in Texas and New Jersey as well as Louisiana. So now I'm able to provide counseling services to all 3 of those states.
And that is the Amazing Counseling LLC. Always Amazing Counseling LLC, which she's the founder of. And she's also the author of the book, The Simple Self-Care. Last time we spoke, you said that you were planning on a retreat to Costa Rica. How was that?
So, so actually I didn't go because I was planning
Oh,
a retreat for February of 2022, but just so
got
happened
you.
February 2022, I was pregnant and
Yeah.
I was having a whole bunch of morning sickness and I was not feeling traveling. So, I
Hmm.
had to postpone that um until another time.
Yeah. I mean, flights are a little crazy right now, but hopefully they fix that.
Hopefully.
Literally hearing
Hopefully.
all the recklessness that's going on there, and pilots are not enough, and all that stuff. Like Jesus.
Yeah, I was caught up in it for Christmas, so I definitely understand where people were coming from because I was out there with Southwest and
Mhm.
stuck.
Southwest. Well, and within that, you could only imagine just the anxiety that people were dealing with traveling with Southwest, not getting their luggage and stuff. You could only imagine just like so much like issues just mentally just dealing with that.
You know what? It's exhausting, and
Yeah.
I've traveled quite a bit, and that was the first time that's ever happened to me. And it was my first time traveling with my baby, and he was
Mm,
3 months. So just like being at the airport for over 5 hours, and my luggage getting sent home, and it was Christmas Eve. So then trying to figure out where could we go. Because it was Christmas the next day and everywhere was closed and it was after midnight. So it was like limited options. So imagine being like 2 o'clock in the morning at Walgreens trying to pick up things because that's the only place that's open. So
right.
yeah, it was so it's like on one hand you appreciate the stores for closing and giving
Hmm.
workers time to be with their family because that is important. But on another
Right.
hand, it's like dang, like this not working in my favor because I can't get anything and you know, everything Walgreens still have like limited options with things you need um for you and the baby, but we made it work.
Right, right. Would you say, because we talked over the pandemic, and now, I mean, certain people are saying that the pandemic is over, but that's really not the case. Let's just be real honest, people. I know that we're mask free here in the States, but not all countries are mask free yet. Um, do you think, have you noticed a uptick within clientele for counseling since we have so many crises here? Let's just pretend that this hasn't been a thing before in the United States with gas, the pandemic, um, housing, all this stuff. Do you see an uptick within mental health for patients?
I feel like things are actually for me have been slowing down, but I think people are more aware of when they need to stop, when they need to take a moment for themselves, like when they need to do certain things.
Hmm.
So it's been a shift in that. But also now with people being back at work and they're not in the home and they're back busy, it's like trying to find time for it. It sometimes
Right.
become on the back burner until it's affecting you.
Oh yeah. That is such a big deal. And speaking of affecting you, you actually have this cool thing I saw on Instagram, which you had a 30-day plan, which we're clearly not gonna have enough time to like talk about the 30-day plan with, but that's so cool. People should check that out, her 30-day plan out. The link will be in the description as well, too. But you also have this awesome acronym here that's called TALK.
Mm.
What inspired this acronym?
So So it kind of stemmed from this 30-day plan, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what happened was when I was going on maternity leave, some of my clients, they were transferred to another therapist, but a few of them just said, you know what, I take a break from them from counseling. And I was like, okay, well, cool. So I created a resource binder of different things that they could do in the meantime while I'm out, and things that they could work on. So it's a little psychoeducation. um and from that it stemmed, like, so I noticed in self-care, I've been focusing a lot lately on communication. So from that I created the acronym talk, because talking is a big part of communication. Although it's
Right.
not the sole thing you do in communication, it is a big part of how you interact and build and maintain relationships.
Mm. And let's go through it real quick. We have the first one, which starts with a T. Take time to express yourself.
Yes. So, what I mean by taking time to express yourself is, how are you feeling? Like, what are your thoughts? So, even if it's that uncomfortable conversation, so if someone is doing something you don't like or you don't necessarily agree with, well, express that. And it doesn't mean that and it's not expressing from a place where, oh, you're right and I'm wrong, but this is just how I feel about it, and we don't have to agree on it and we don't have to be on the same page, but I'm expressing
Mm.
to you how I feel and you do what you want with that information.
Uh, I when I first read that part, I was thinking about my relationship with my partner and also a
Mm.
relationship in general, just friendship, all that stuff. And I look at our culture here in America, and we have to be reminded of that. We
Mhm.
definitely do.
Exactly.
Um, it-
Yeah, people don't have
yeah,
to agree with you and they don't have to be on the same page with you. It's not about that. So a lot of
right.
times you feel as if a person doesn't agree with you or don't have the same values or outlook as you, then that person is wrong. No, they just have a difference of opinion, and that's okay.
Right, right. And it's perfectly fine to have a different opinion. I think here we don't have that type of culture really anymore. And it's kind of upsetting. Like I get that there's horrible people in the world, but there is also a sense of people can change. You know, I always tell people all the time, like Malcolm X was not the man he was when he died. He was a totally different person when he was younger, and
Mm.
it took him time to change. You would have hated him if he died in his young age, being who he was before he found the Nation of Islam, and then not founded, but joined the Nation of Islam, and then later on left and became even more greater in his path. We have to give people time to understand that they're humans and they can change, and you don't need to tolerate them if you don't want to, especially on social media. I use the block button, I use the mute button, but I don't try to tear people down because I feel like there's a lot of faults within myself that I have to understand.
Can you imagine someone taking your thoughts from 15 years ago and applying them to who you are today? You'll be like,
Right.
"Ooh, I may have changed on that, and I see things differently." You change. Like,
Yeah.
it happens.
Yeah. I mean, look at how long have you had Facebook, for instance?
Ah, since 2006,
And
2006.
you know when those memories come up,
Yes, you cringe at you
right?
cringe at
And then you're
them.
just like, what the hell was I thinking?
Or even worse, go back to, like, if I still had my MySpace page, go back to that. That's when you
Yeah.
really see, like, okay, okay.
Right. MySpace, I kind of miss MySpace sometimes with all the drama that's going on with social media. But I digress. Let's go on. Let's go on to the A. We have allow yourself the opportunity to process your feelings. Jesus Christ. Men, black men, listen to what this woman have to say.
Yes. So that means you don't have to verbally respond in the moment, at that moment. Take time
Hmm.
to say, how am I feeling about this? So it's kind of like once you yeah, you can express yourself, but also how are you feeling about this? Like what emotion is this bringing up? Where is this taking me? Because sometimes you may be offended by something, and it's not
Mm,
necessarily what the person said, but it could be what it brings you to, or what it reminds you of, or like what is it triggering within you that may be affecting you.
mm, mm. And I have worked on this myself, and I have to say that it makes life so much easier to be able to process your emotions and then express it in a way to communicate how you feel. I was definitely one of those kids that had that problem, and you know, I found a counselor. I already told the story last time. If y'all want to know about that, just go back to the last episode with Arkeria. I don't want to repeat the whole thing. But yeah, and I tell you, it's feels so relieving and liberating when you're able to like actually like take the time. Like there'll be times I get in an argument and then people like they like, oh, you're gonna say something. I'm like, give me a second, let me think about this. And it's okay.
Right, right. So with me being in a relationship, sometimes I have to say, like we were having a discussion about something a couple of months ago, and
Hmm.
old me probably would have responded based on what I was feeling in that moment. But I had to
Mm.
take time to process what was being said, and I realized why he was expressing his feelings to me. I may not have agreed with them, but what it was bringing within me was a different type of feeling that had nothing to do with him, but it was just more so something. It was more of a me problem, not a him problem, and I can't
Right.
make me problems his problems in a sense, or a
Mm, mm.
relationship problem. It's something that I have to process on my own and work through on my own, so I don't bring that into a relationship.
Mm. That's deep. That's deep. And it makes you stronger when you're able to work on yourself that way, right? Like it shows the communication stronger.
It does. It does help the communication, because then now when you're able to express how you feel about something, you're saying like, okay, well, I feel this way, and these are my thoughts, and it's not necessarily anything you're doing, but
Hmm.
it's how I feel about something. And it could be your actions, and it could be something you can change, or it could be something that I just need to work through, and we need to discuss it or and move forward from it. But the goal is not getting stuck and allowing something that can be solved as with simple communication to turn into something big that can harm or destroy relationships.
Right, right. And for and this also works very well from professional relationships as well too, like white collar, blue collar. Um, do you see this as also a very good effective tool for work life?
Yes. So whenever I talk about relationships, people always may assume I'm talking about just romantic relationships, but I'm talking about
Hmm.
anything that end with ship. So there's friendship, family relationship, professional
Right.
relationships, any type of person you have some type of connection with, right? So when you think of a professional, because I do work with a lot of professionals in my practice. And one thing
Right.
is like, okay, when someone tell you something, no, you can't respond in the moment, especially when you're dealing with microaggressions at work, when you're dealing with when you may be the only person that look like you at your job. So it's like, okay, let me take time before, because if I respond how I'm feeling in the moment, it's not going to be professional. So instead,
Right.
let me step back and process how I'm feeling about this, and saying, is this person giving me constructive criticism, like feedback to help me grow, or are they telling me this like in a harmful and negative way? And is this an opportunity to educate the person, to let them know how what they're saying is coming across?
Mm, mm. Yeah, I tell you. it does seem like it's a lot of pressure to have that type of communication in the workplace, um but you feel so much better. I gotta say, I have done that before, but there are times when I chose not to, and then I realize that it becomes more drama than it has to
Yes,
be.
yes, yes, yes.
All right, let's go on to the next one. We have L. Let the person speak and respect other needs,
Yeah,
which is,
so
yeah. Go ahead.
so listening when you're talking to someone is just as important. So when you let them speak, and because I had an acronym for listen as well. I'm not sure if I
Hmm.
shared it yet. But when
Hmm.
you let someone speak, it's saying, okay, I'm listening to what you're saying, not to necessarily respond or give you my response, but to truly understand what you need and respect it. And again, I don't have to agree with it. I don't even have to like it. But
Right,
I just have to respect that's who you are and that's what you need as a person because we're all different, right? We all were raised
right.
different, we were brought up different, even if we were raised by the same parents. It's just the way that they raised us may have been differently.
Mm.
So because of that, our needs look different because of who we are as individuals.
Mm. I have a question, and I need advice. This I'm not going to name the person, but this is on a personal perspective, and I wonder if the audience that listening also has this issue too. I have an individual that is involved in my life because of who I date, and they have this mindset where they're just totally homed in on themselves, which makes it so difficult to communicate because when an argument or something happened, there's no listening at all. It's just, oh, you said something that made me feel targeted, so I'm going to express to you how you're a horrible person. And it's kind of in this, I'm having a hard time like trying to break through that boundary because unfortunately, look, you're going to be in my life because I'm in love with the person that you are connected to. So I have no choice but to deal with your ass. So how do you deal with somebody that is just a brick wall? It's, like this is something that I've been trying to like hint that they should try. But like, how is it possible with someone like that, that's thick headed?
I'm not gonna say it's possible, but it's just more so one, I always say you choose your battles wisely. So you
Mm,
know if you bring up something to them, knowing they may not be receptive. So before you even go into the conversation, asking yourself, is this person going to be receptive of it? And also
mm-hmm,
when you have a discussion about like them bringing up things of the past, is you don't have that conversation in the middle of an argument. So I always tell
mm,
people, when you have these discussions on how communication should go, you do it from a place of when things are calm, when things are good. Because just imagine when you're angry, when you're worked up, if
mm-hmm,
you are of a certain mindset, your only goal is to try to hurt the person because you feel as if they hurt you.
mm.
So
Yeah.
emotionally, where is this person coming from? You have to ask yourself that as well. And
Mm-hmm,
then maybe this person isn't ready for that discussion or ready for what you have to say. So it's being aware of that. And it doesn't mean you allow this person to disrespect you, but it's just more so from that place of peace. You can't approach everybody from a place of peace
right,
because they
right.
may not be ready.
Right. Those some really good jewels that you talked about, especially when you mentioned about the having this conversation on a calm setting instead of wanting to do it when things are already like, I'm about to rip your head off or something like that. Not literally rip your head off, no homicidal intent. I take that back. I mean, I'm about to just cuss you out or something like that. um no, I think that's very important because I never actually thought it that way because it only comes to mind when shit gets
We get
real. You know what I
upset.
mean? Right. It's the only
we
time.
who you upset. And just think about, like, when you're mad at someone, and I mean, even myself, I can be guilty of this. That's why I try not to get
Mhm,
there. But like, if I'm in the middle of arguing with someone, it's like, okay, now you're trying to cut me. Well, I'm not even trying to listen to what you're saying. I'm just trying to get out and get
right,
what I'm saying out, get my feelings out, express my
right.
frustration. I'm not trying to come from a place of peace. I'm coming from a place of anger, hurt. So you know what? Let me calm down first, and then I can
Mm,
come from a place of peace.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, I hope people are listening because this is some real shit right here. I gotta say that it's so important to listen. Listening is a talent, honestly. I think like it's a talent that everyone can achieve. They just have to work on it. And then empathy, basically, and respecting other people's needs. Like I don't think that's empathy, right? Is that empathy? Did I use that the same?
Yeah,
Is
that's part
that's
of
the same?
empathy, is being able to respect. It's a part of being able to respect. So, um, where how I was taught empathy versus sympathy.
Mm,
Sympathy is like, oh, I feel sorry for you. I hate that this happening to you. You know,
right.
um, I'm hurt that this happening. But when you think of empathy, it's putting yourself in their shoes, right? So it's like, I don't know what this is like, and I can't imagine, but if I'm seeing what it would feel like for me emotionally if I was experiencing what you're experiencing.
Mm, mm. Yeah, yeah, and I think that's definitely another trait that we have to learn as Americans, which is so important. All right, next,
Mhm.
the last one is the K, kindness. Be kind with your words. Another biggie. So I see these are very challenging. I can only imagine what clients go through.
Yes, yes, yes. So kindness is kind of like what I just said. You don't have those conversations when you're angry and upset, because
Right.
it won't be kind. And also, it's knowing. I always tell people this: it's not what you say, it's how you say it. So
Right.
me asking you, like, if you do something, like, why would you do something like that? What is wrong with you? Versus saying, oh, what made you do something like that? Is everything okay? Like,
Mm,
what caused that reaction out of you? So it's asking the same thing, but it's just more so how you word it and how you say it is different. So it's about always trying to be kind when you communicate, even when you find it difficult, even when you find it frustrating. It's like not allowing someone to make you into someone that you're not.
yeah. Yeah. So basically is controlling and controlling maturely your emotions, and also executing how you are going to react to a person or speak and communicate to a person, being mindful of how you say it, and what you're saying. That's within itself definitely is something that is very important to work on, especially if you want to be a better communicator in life. Because oh man, it doesn't work that way with siblings. Like,
Doesn't, huh? Does not. Sometimes you just got to put them on mute and be like, you know what? I'll talk to you later. I'm in a better, I'm in a better place to deal with you. So that means I may not answer some text messages, may not answer some calls, but you
mm,
understand where I'm coming from, because I need a break from you.
mm.
But
And how do you, you have these people, there's people that will feel, I guess I'm just thinking out of the box on this because I'm like thinking like, I try to be kind, and then they test you still. And it's like I still gotta be kind, especially in the work setting.
mhm,
But you can definitely tell that they are testing you.
mhm, mhm,
And
mhm.
it takes some real strength.
So being kind doesn't mean you have to take disrespect.
Mm,
It doesn't mean that because one thing about it, like, I'm not going to allow someone to tell me to do something that go against my values and think it's okay. You're not about to holler at me, especially if I'm not hollering at you. You're not talking to me any kind of way, and you're not treating me any kind of way.
Mm. Mm.
So you can still like practice that, but at the same time, it doesn't mean. And I think that's what people think like, oh, if I don't respond in a certain way, I'm allowing this person to disrespect me and I'm allowing them to think that it's okay. No, because you still can build boundaries. You can still have
Mm.
boundaries with this person and telling them, like, I'm speaking to you in a certain way, so you can speak to me in that same way. And until you're ready to talk to me that way, I'm not talking to you. Like, I don't have anything to say to you. Now, how does it affect your? And I know, like, talking about this is like, I can't do that because of this, and that. And
Mm.
how does it affect your job? Then that may mean you may be at a place where if you have a problem with the way you're being spoken to, are you really valued at that place? And does
Mm.
that mean it's time for you to start exploring different options when it comes to employment? When it comes to relationships with families, it's like, okay, um, and are you really valued by this family member, and make sure your family members understand the value. And one thing I always tell people, think about the most important person in your life when it comes to boundaries. If someone spoke to them the way that person is speaking to you, would you be okay with it? Or would you have a
Mm.
problem with it? And the answer is usually no. Like, I would want to tell them, like, that's not okay. Then you're important too. So don't allow people to treat or speak to you any kind of way.
Right, right. And so it's that sense of just owning yourself as an individual and making sure that people respect your boundaries, but also working on yourself to not um, become to not let your emotions or anything deter from you working on yourself, to like to use that in the way to actually build and grow as a better person for you, but to not take no foolishness though.
Exactly, exactly. It's like one of those things like I can't control what happens around me. We know it's so many things going on in the world, and I can't control any
Right.
of it. But guess what I can control? How I respond to
Ourselves.
things and how I let things affect me.
Right, right. That's so true. That's so true. And again, people definitely check out her book, The Simple Self Care. Do you have anything in the works, or you just chilling because you just had a baby? So I get that.
Yeah, so actually, I'm working on releasing mental health wellness check-ins, and what that is mainly when someone like it's usually for people who have completed therapy, and sometimes you get busy, but you just want to check in with a therapist every so often, talk about one
Hmm.
goal of something that may be affecting you, and it's something that can be provided to people all in the US. So it's not really a therapy session, but it's more of a like a 30-minute check-in. So that's something else that I will be providing soon for those in need.
Oh, word. Yeah, that's important. Yeah, A lot of people don't think that just having a check in once in a while is like important. Like I have check ins with friends and families and stuff like that, just to see what's going on. And it's not like a monthly thing. It could be once every 2 months, it could be once every 3 months. But that type of like just being able to talk to somebody, especially a professional. I mean, I recommend people to go to a professional more, especially so they can work on some things, like yourself, because you don't want to get advice from your crazy uncle that's going to be like, well, you know what? Fuck that person. Like it's not going to help really. Like you can say still
Right.
get rid of that person, but you got to have some structure on processing that.
Right, right. And it's so funny because whenever I'm talking to one of my best friends, when we'll be discussing something that may be going on, and I'll be like, okay, well, regular Arkeria would want to say this, but therapist Arkeria knows that that's not right. So I understand where you're coming from. but at the same time, like, just helping to see, like, okay, that may not be the best response. And even so much as when I'm talking to clients, sometimes when they're telling me certain stories, I'm like, oh, I 100% agree with you, because 10 years ago, I probably would have did the same thing. But also knowing, like, so you can't talk to people that's of the same mindset, because then there's no growth. There's no
Right.
opportunity for you to do better, because they're justifying your actions instead of helping
Right.
hold you accountable for improvement.
Yeah. I'm smiling hard because I'm thinking of so many stories that I hear. And even with myself, like just going to somebody that thinks like me and be like, man, why you ain't smack that dude? I'm like, I did it. I should have done. It doesn't help. It just
Mhm,
makes it more inflamed.
mhm.
Oh,
Exactly.
yeah. So definitely like people should, especially black community. I gotta always say that because those are people. Y'all like we should have these check-ins and stuff. And there are, I see here in New Haven, there are spots opening up. There's apps, there's all types of resources, So it's not getting to the point where oh I gotta go find somebody. They're around. They're open. Even at my job, they have these things where counselors and what we call peer support. I used to be a part of peer support at things back in the day, but I say back in the day like I'm old. I'm not even that old, but like peer
Mhm.
support, all those type of things is so important, and I'm glad that certain jobs provide that, and I feel like a lot of jobs should at least give those options and stuff like that for people because you never know if they need to talk to anybody.
Exactly. And believe it or not, because I've had people call me for consultations, and they're like, "Ooh, but I don't have insurance, and you
Hmm.
know, therapy may be a little pricey for me." Well, most jobs have EAP, where they will cover an X amount of sessions for you with the therapist.
Oh,
So it's like contacting
mm,
your EAP through Human Resources, and you can get a few free therapy sessions from that.
mm. I'm going to make sure I put that in the description and stuff. That's good advice right there. I like that. I didn't know that there was like an EAP or something like that. That's dope.
Yes, and is I've seen as few as like 3 sessions, but I've seen where some people have because I work with a few EAPs, they have as many as 20 sessions. So
Oh wow,
that you can get therapy for a year and you don't even have to pay anything. Just taking time to meet
guys,
with the therapist.
get on this, people. Get on this. I'm gonna start telling people at my job about this too. Like, listen, Arkeria told me because we work at we work at Yale Hospital, so it's like big, it's like one of those like big
So you most
corporations.
likely have an EAP.
Yeah, definitely, we definitely have one. There's no way we don't. All right,
Mhm.
so we're almost getting down to the hour here. This is a great episode so far. Talk about some pop culture stuff real quick. Last time you were here, Arkeria, we talked about briefly Meg the Stallion's situation. And now we're seeing in the news that that Tory Lanez is convicted. There are still naysayers on what actually went down. What are your thoughts on that whole situation, especially like on the mental health side of this whole thing? Because it's wild. Like they definitely were all drinking. Like it looks like a drunken
Right.
situation. Well, like,
And the thing is, we don't know what happened, right? And we'll
mhm,
never know what happened. So sometimes keeping, when you have opinions about things, is being mindful that while we may be looking at it from an outsider's perspective, these are still people. So everybody that was involved in it affected them in a different way with whatever really happened. And because we'll never know, is being mindful of other people's feelings as we speak
mhm,
about it, because they may can hear or see what's being said, and you don't want this to impact them mentally in a negative way, right? Because then when something
right,
happens, it's like, oh, I wish I had known. I wish I knew about this. Well, that's why you should be mindful of what you say, because words can be
right,
hurtful. So,
right.
thinking about a couple of months ago when Aaron Carter, when he passed away, I think from
Yeah.
alcohol or something, and people were saying like, "Oh, that's so sad, this, and that." But then I remember interviews of him. People talked about how he was looking. They criticized him, and it's like you don't know
Mm,
what this man was going through emotionally, but yet you can make all these posts and make all these jokes and make all these comments about someone and not knowing what's going on with them internally and what they're struggling with. So it's just being mindful when you say things. Um, you are talking about people that have feelings and emotions,
right.
and you don't
Right.
know
Right.
what they're dealing with mentally on the inside. So, do you really want to be partially responsible for someone having a mental break?
Yeah. Like, for instance, Meg the Stallion. What would you tell her if you were to talk to her? Was she all that stuff that she went through on social media and people talking about her in songs and stuff like that? Like, if Meg the Stallion was to talk to you, do you have any advice that you'll give her?
I would just tell her live in her truth. She know what really happened, and the thing about it is you can't convince other people right what of your truth to what happened because people are always going to be on opposite sides when there's anything that's controversial. So anytime you
Right.
think of conflict, some people going to believe you and some people are not. So instead of focusing on those people that don't, you can find ways to try to block them. You can maybe take a break from social media. So it's finding ways to eliminate that and focus
Mm,
on more of the positive aspects. And I know it's different for a celebrity because
yeah.
whereas like a regular person may have three or four people, you got hundreds of thousands of people that's constantly coming at you.
Yeah.
But think of it like a plant, right? If we're constantly focusing on the plant that's dying, that has no life, and not paying attention to the plant that we can actually water and grow, then that plant will die too. That plant will go away. So instead of focusing on what's draining and what's taken away, focus on how you can pour into and focus on what can help you with your growth.
Mm, mm. Now, would you give that to Kanye? That's the last part. Yes, guys, I brought it up. The one I haven't brought him up at all. This is the first time, everyone. Would you give that to Kanye? Because he actually is taking 90 days off after everything. How do you think that he has like a bipolar situation going on? Like, what's your assessment on Kanye from a professional perspective?
Well, I can't really assess him. I can't really say like, oh yeah, he's bipolar because this, and this, because I'm only
Hmm.
seeing one piece of things, and I'm not
Right.
working with him. And I always find it weird sometimes when professionals are like, oh, this person is this, and that. Like, are you sure?
Uh-huh.
Because you're not really working with them, so how would you know? Um, but not only that, I think it's good that he's taking 90 days off because he has had a difficult couple of years just from like the portrayal in the media. So I think
Hmm.
just having time where he can focus on himself and his own mental health would be good for him. But I think, one thing about being in a spotlight, you get so much attention. So many like people are constantly in your face and in your business that it's hard for you to take time to work on yourself. So I think him being able to do that would be good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I want him to take some good time, like some real good time. Don't try anything new, Kanye. Like just take your time. No one rushing you or anything. If they are, shut up.
Right, right. Just take time to focus on yourself. I mean, because Kanye has made some excellent music. You can't
Yeah,
like deny
it's
the
hard.
impact that he's had. But
Right.
with that, so with the fame and with all of that attention, you get the criticisms too. You get the
Hmm.
negativity. You get you lose your peace. And
Mm.
so you have to find out, okay, where can I get peace? What brings me peace when you're in a position like that?
Right. Well, Akira, I want to thank you so much for coming on. This was a really good, insightful episode, and I pretty hope people got a lot out of this. Do you have any final words before we close out for this segment?
No, but wait. So thank you so much for having me. And one thing I do want to say is, as we talk about these mental health things, and it does sound easy when someone is just telling you these things, but just
Mm-hmm.
knowing that just because you may be struggling with it, it's okay if it's difficult. But being able to talk to a professional is where you can really like weed through and work through some of the challenges. And I always encourage people that even if it doesn't work with the first professional you meet, that doesn't necessarily mean that it's not for you. It just may mean that that person isn't for you. So I've had people where it just didn't work out, and it doesn't mean that I'm a bad therapist or that person is a
Right.
bad person. It just means that I wasn't the therapist for that person, and that's okay because some
Right.
that opens up the space for someone else who I can work with that we may work better together.
Right. Right. Well, thank you so much for coming on, and I wish you the best in your career. Wish you the best with your family. Um, and it's not cold in Louisiana, right? It's still fairly warm.
No, it is. What was it? Because yesterday I had on a dress with sandals. So, um, we're in the I think 70s, 80s. No, we're in the
Oh
70s.
man, I'm jealous. I am freezing up here in New England, but it's whatever. I'm gonna have to go down there one day and just kick my feet up. I want to go to New Orleans so bad.
Just don't come in the summertime. Come when it's like now. You probably would love it. Because I have a
Yeah,
cousin that lives in Boston, and whenever he's down, he's like, "Man, this is just so amazing. I can have on a light jacket in December. That's unheard of." So
yeah. That's
just come
dope.
when it's
It's less
cold.
people.
Yes, come when it's cold when you want, and us Southern people don't like going outside when it's cold. So
Right. All right. Well, everyone have a very good day, and thank you so much, Akira, for coming on. Her links will be in the description, so you'll be able to check out her information. And if you need any help, and you're in Texas or Louisiana, it was Cali as well too. Your
New
licensing,
Jersey,
New
New Jersey,
Jersey. Why did I say
yes.
Cali? Whatever. If you're in New Jersey, definitely hit her up. But without further ado, if you like what you hear, definitely subscribe. I'm definitely taking donations. It helps the show. As you can see, my quality's a lot better. I got a 4K camera now. I got a better microphone. So it's happening, guys. It's happening. I want to thank everyone that has always been there to support my little podcast. And thank you so much for that support. So without further ado, have a very good day. And I'll talk to you later, Karen. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you. You have a good one.
Blank period, yeah. On my black, brown, and indigenous. Gotta holla if you really feeling this. Gotta holla if you really real enough. Other rappers is delirious. Yeah, it's really that serious. Better holla if you really feeling me. I gotta keep it 100, ayy. If you don't like it, then fuck it, ayy. We gonna win in the end, yeah. We gonna live in abundance. I gotta keep it 100, ayy. If you don't like it, then fuck it, ayy. We gonna win in the end, yeah. We gonna. I gotta keep it 100. We gotta stop all the stunting. You know we coming from nothing. Yo, you talking about money, you bluffing. We gotta do something different. We gotta change how we live in. We gotta do better for women. We gotta do better for children. We gotta listen to victims, whether Jewish or Muslim or Christian. It doesn't matter your religion. You gotta stand against the system, or else you just another villain. How you just sitting there chilling?